Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel, Sharang and Sharvari. So, before we start today's topic, we would just like to shout out Mr. Krishnatma or Miss or Mrs. We're not sure. So, you had asked, thank you for your kind comment on our video, and you had asked a question which was, could we recommend some good books on the topic? Of emotional intelligence, how to cultivate it, and so on and so forth. Sharvari, ladies first, do the honors.
So, being a psychologist myself, I know this one book. It's literally named Emotional Intelligence. It's by Daniel Goleman, and it's pretty famous. It talks about how EQ is worth more than IQ, and especially in success and relationships in general, or maintaining relationships. So, that would be a recommendation from my side. What about you?
From my side, and since your name is Krishnatma and the logo is Om, I think you should go back to the classics, which is Bhagavad Gita. It is the most profound treatise on philosophy that I've ever witnessed and that I've ever read for sure. Even if you're an atheist or an agnostic, I think there's a lot of wisdom to be gleaned from the Bhagavad Gita. Like I'm by no means am I a scholar on the Bhagavad Gita, but still I would urge you that the concept of intelligence is different. So the Indian way of looking at intellect is in a much more holistic way, right? We define intelligence as buddhi, which is knowledge, and vivek, which is wisdom. And satsad vivek is like your conscience mixed with your own like intellect about the world. So in order to develop emotional intelligence, I would say there are a few key concepts from the Bhagavad Gita. First one being karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur bhurmaste sangostvam karmani, which means you should do actions without expecting any fruit or reward simply because it happens to be the right thing to do. Another thing to look at in the Bhagavad Gita is the concept of guna, right? So in the Bhagavad Gita, we do the motivation behind certain actions. So just because you do something good doesn't mean that you are a good person, because it is possible you may do something good with some nefarious or ulterior motives. So if you do bad things or if you do good things with a bad intention or motivation, you're said to be in the tamas gun or the gun of darkness. On the other hand, if you work only for your self-interest, then you're supposed to be in the rajas gun. But in that you can get some benefit, but the ultimate guna, which makes you an enlightened soul and puts you on the path of moksha, is known as sattva guna. So when you are supposed to be in the sattva guna, you're supposed to do the right thing for the right motivation and not get attached to anything. So that concept is also pretty profound. Other than that, you can read up on the concept of Purushartha, that is Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. Dharma is your duty in life, Artha is the acquisition of wealth, Kam refers to sexual intercourse, but it can also refer to enjoying the vasanas of life, eating good food, enjoying drinks, having sexual intercourse, etc. And final one is Moksha, which puts you on the path of enlightenment, the path of God. So use that as a starting point, but definitely read up on the Bhagavad Gita to cultivate your Vivek. Jai Shri Krishna. And now we start off with today's topic. Uh, Today's topic, I think, was Sharvari's idea, and we definitely are not Andrew Tate and any of those toxic red pillars, red pill people or misogynists who just preach hatred against women. We genuinely like, love, and care for women. I'm married to one. I'm a brother. I'm a son. Like I have genuine, deep adoration and respect for women. Having said that, just the same way men have certain faults, the same way women do. And today's topic was Sharvari's idea. She suggested it, and I thought I would put in my perspective. So Sharvari, please do the honors. Please tell us what the topic is.
Sure. So actually, this topic came to my thinking, or I was thinking about it a lot recently because some of my friends are already married, but some of them are, trying to get guys, or some relatives that are actually in the arranged marriage market. They're searching for guys. So I hear a lot of failure stories, unfortunately, that, I didn't find the guy I liked, but, or, guys have really unrealistic expectations or something. And like, there is a phrase that says that when you clap, you always use two hands. So you can't clap with just one hand.
ताली दो हाथों निभाते
ताली दो
दो हाथ से
हाथ से
बचती है.
बजती hai, right? So using this principle, I think, yeah, it is true that guys also have unrealistic expectations. Like, yeah, I'll get the prettiest girl out there, or I'll get the hottest girl out there. I don't know. But girls also nowadays have a lot of unrealistic expectations when it comes to finding someone for marriage. It can be any type of marriage, like a love marriage or an arranged marriage. In the case of a love marriage, there you already know the person. In an arranged marriage, you're meeting with the sole purpose of getting married. So that's a bit different, but not really exactly. So I think in this case, what happens is like the first point I would want to present is the parameters that women actually take into consideration while choosing a guy. That logic itself is flawed because they give importance to a lot of things that may not really matter in the long run. So, for example, I'll share my personal experience. When I was enrolled in the arranged marriage market, I kind of wanted height as a criteria, but that makes sense because I myself am a very tall person. I'm about 5'7". So it makes sense for me to go for a taller guy. Or I wanted someone who has a stable job because, of course, I knew or I would have the confidence that he would take care of me and in the future a family if we do have that. Or he should come from a good family. So, all these, in my opinion, are very realistic expectations that one person, a girl specifically, can hold. But when I talked to some of my friends recently, I found uh, insane ideas out there. I mean, I'm gonna get a lot of
Hate.
backlash, hate on this, but I don't care. So, yeah, I just found out some very insane, like he should, look a certain way, or he should, earn according to my standard is something I heard recently. And he should, not live. Okay, there can be a preference, but somewhere I think that you should have the ability to compromise a bit. Like, if everything else is good in a guy, then maybe you can hold off on a few things, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, like, if suppose I would have, like, I met Sharang and honestly, everything worked out well there. He was exactly what I had as an expectation of a guy. But maybe I would have compromised on one thing, that is height. So, like, if I would have found a guy who was perfect in everything else, but maybe he was like 5'8". 5'8" was not maybe in my criteria. I was looking at guys who were like 5'9" and above because I wanted that height difference. But in that case, I definitely would have compromised because I would have looked at the positives and I would have been like, is it wise for me to just sit on this one point of height and lose out on a good guy? So that's my logic. What do you think about it?
So, first and foremost, I would like to disagree with you on one point,
Okay.
which is the fact that you said that both women and men have unrealistic expectations. And while I do agree that there are some men out there who have unrealistic expectations, like because I've talked to a lot of guys, and in the vast majority of cases, they seem to have pretty realistic expectations.
Okay.
In my opinion, right? Because the vast majority of guys I talk to, they never talk about income. They're like, have a job, any job is fine. I don't care. As long as you are earning enough to support yourself, it's fine. Most of the times, height is, they're not that sticklers for height. They definitely are like weight and looks a little bit.
Yeah.
But even there, I found guys having much more realistic standards, right? And I think one of the reasons, as a biologist, I always look at the foundational reasons that why men are this way and why women are this way.
Okay, right.
There is something known as female hypergamy. Female hypergamy is the tendency of the female of a species to mate with males who are at the top of dominance hierarchies.
Oh, yeah.
So, for example, in elephant seals, you find that 10% of the males have intercourse and breed and reproduce with 90% of the females, because the males have combat each other. And then this, even today, you find that, let's say there's a famous movie star, or there's like like a rock star or a famous CEO. He can have any girls, he can have any girl he wants, and most of them have multiple women, right? Now they may not have official wives. Historically, that's what kings did, right? A king would have multiple wives and multiple women in his harem, for example. So even in human societies, it has always been the case that the top that high ranking males got free access to a lot of women, whereas men at the bottom of the social hierarchy got nothing. So I think this is a basic trait, and this is a fundamental biological reality of women, which predisposes them to go for men at the top of the dominance hierarchy. However, we have enforced monogamy in society, right? It's not enforced in the sense there's a crime and you'll go to jail or
I think
something like
it's
this.
more accepted.
Yeah, like I meant socially and culturally enforced
Correct.
monogamy,
Yeah.
as in like if I try to have multiple wives, you'll kill me, and vice versa, right? Yeah, like this. So my parents will kill me. Like that's what I mean by enforced monogamy, and because of this, men are obviously very selective who they date and marry. And so, oftentimes, while women may find it easier to have casual relationships with high ranking men, they'll never get to marry them, right? And so, what happens, and you can see this on Tinder, for example, the top 10% of guys get all the likes, whereas the bottom 90% get basically no likes, right? So this is the difference, and I think this is why women's expectations, especially when it comes to dating and marriage, are so unrealistic. And I also think modern feminism, like I supported feminism all the way until it divorced itself from reality and began to preach hatred of men. Until then, I was a big supporter of feminism because obviously women are equal to men. They should have all the rights we do, and they have a vital role to play in our society. But the moment you start pitching one group against the other, and you began to say that women and men are equal in every way, sorry, you're going against biological reality. So this is what I feel, that women today are conditioned to think you can have anything you want, and no expectation is unrealistic or whatever. You're a perfect 10. Every woman is beautiful. These are That's not statistically even possible. And I feel like men hold each other in check in a way that women don't. So, for example, if one of my friends is ugly or fat, right, and we are all a group of male friends, and he just says, I'm the hottest guy ever, they'll be like, dude, you're not. You're just a fat. And the things we'll say afterwards, I cannot repeat in public, but we'll definitely give him a harsh dose of reality. And I've hung out with a lot of women, and definitely I've seen the way women talk to each other, and they never would say that. So no woman would call another woman fat or ugly, even though that's just the reality of the world, right? Like some women just are, and this is not to say that men are, right? So, but men are much more realistic. Like we are forced by the world to have realistic standards, and so I think that's why you have this current trend where you talk to women, they just have insane standards.
I agree. Like, I think women, and personally, I've seen a lot of examples around me. They live in some kind of a fantasy world. Like, you see all these Gen Z terms being thrown out there. Like, oh, girls, he's a green flag, he's a green forest. I mean, yeah, great going. But then, what are you willing to give out, or what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you the green flag? Or are you a red flag and then you're wishing for a green one? It doesn't work that way. So, like, when you're entering a relationship or when you're entering marriage, for example, you need to also think about what you will be giving in return to the person if you're demanding something from that person. So, like, I know girls who are like, oh, he should, get me like a rose every day, or he should get me my favorite snack. I have not asked him to do that. Okay, I might have, but yeah, that was like a long time ago.
Please continue.
Now Sharang's embarrassed.
I'm always embarrassed to be seen.
This channel would not work then. If you were embarrassed to be seen with me, it would not work at all.
Just kidding. Please continue.
My God. Now I'm embarrassed of you. So, you should, really think about what you are giving in exchange of what you are getting.
Yeah.
So if you expect a guy having a good job, if you expect somebody who's kind to you and generous to you, you cannot act horrible to him. Like, it doesn't work that way. And vice versa as well. If a girl is giving everything for you, a guy cannot be horrible to her. So you need to have that balance. And I think this is what people miss in today's day and age. So women somewhere started to think that they have the power on everything.
Yeah.
This sentence is going to get so much hate. Like, I can see it. I can predict the hate right now. Oh my God.
It's okay. It is what it is. You're too far along. This is the sunk cost fallacy. You're too far in. Now you have to,
I have to complete what I'm saying.
याचना नहीं अब रण होगा, जीवन जय या मरण होगा. Go for it.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, just think about that. Like, whenever you're going for marriage, this is something I want to put out there. And somewhere have really realistic expectations. Like, okay, fine, you are interested in a career, then you need to be okay with somebody who maybe is not that interested in a career, or maybe might be interested in the same level as you
Yeah.
for a career. But then you can't be like, okay, he's not giving me time, because you yourself accepted him for who he is. He has done the same. So that
And I
is
also
something.
feel that like what happens is women find it like it's relatively much easier for the average woman to get a boyfriend than it is for the average man to get a girlfriend, especially
Hmm.
in India with our skewed sex ratio, right? But when it comes to the marriage market, men become very, very selective and very, very picky. So the same women who found it pretty easy to get a boyfriend all of a sudden can't get a husband, right? Also, as marriage age gets pushed forward, right? Like women are marrying later and later, and another, this is going to get so much hate, right? But a woman in her, like as you go from your 20s to your 30s, your value on the marriage market to a guy will reduce, right? Because guess what, the same way women prefer men who are older because they're more established, men prefer younger women. This is, to some way, we are also slaves to our own biology, because younger women tend to be more fertile, they tend to on average be more beautiful. So this is just a natural trend. So when a woman is 28, 30, 32, a woman's like value on the marriage market has begun to reduce, and a guy on as the guy, average guy, right, when he's 32 years old, has much better prospects of marriage when he's 32 as opposed to when he was 22, because he's had 10 years to develop his career, right? So it's like the graph of women's potential is this and a graph of a man's potential is this. So at one point they intersect and then they reverse. So the power dynamic flips somewhere in its 30s, and women and men are not prepared for it.
Hmm.
So that's what happens. Additionally, women, because equality has been forced on us to some sense, women tend to think that men will value the same things that women do, right?
Hmm.
So a woman will be interested in a guy's career and how much money he makes, the like how what a package he has, etc., etc. But the men won't care about that,
Hmm.
right? Men don't care pretty much how much money you make. It makes no difference to
Hmm.
them.
Right.
They care about something completely different. And another thing is women have been propagandized to some extent to to think they want one thing but they actually don't want that. For example, like I've had a lot of female friends, and they say that I want a certain kind of guy. Should be soft, sensitive, caring, you should embrace his emotions, you should cry, you should be not afraid to be vulnerable. But then the men they date are not that, right? Because for all the talk of toxic masculinity, you know who the most toxically masculine men are? Christian Grey, right? Written by a woman for women, right? From 50 Shades of Grey. And like just pick up any Edward Cullen, right? Another book that teenage women love. So your love for tough, hard, strong men is biologically programmed into you.
Hmm.
And you can't have the world, right? You can't have a man who's tough, strong, driven, ambitious, and still expect him to just cry when he sees the sunset, right? That's just not happening. So I would say that the biggest thing that women should do is have a good, long, hard look at yourself in the mirror and have realistic expectations for yourself. If you look like Angelina Jolie, you have every right to expect a Brad Pitt. On the other hand, if you look like Jabba the Hutt, you'll get Jabba the Hutt. That's just what it is. And I'm sorry to put it this bluntly, but it is what it is.
My God.
Yeah, this video is gonna
I
get
can see
so
the
much hate.
subscribers
Yeah,
going away.
but it's, but okay, maybe the Java Hut comment was a bit too much, but I say this for men as well, right? Because I literally had this conversation with a guy, and he was like, "Yeah, what sort of men, girl should I focus on?" I was like, "Dude, you're not that good looking, so you better hope and pray your salary somehow compensates for that." And like,
God.
I just said it, and like people have told me those harsh critiques, and it's helped me. So I hope it helps you. And I think, at the risk of getting cancelled before our channel gets banned, over to you, Sharmini.
So yeah, that is all. I think we have really summed it up in much depth, I
Yeah,
must say.
yeah.
No Jabba the Hutt comment. Oh my God.
That was a
But yeah,
joke,
yeah,
but
that was
it
a joke.
was, well, like every joke, it has a grain of truth in it.
And we may tend to exaggerate sometimes, but I think the main point here is that women, please be realistic in your expectations. And I'm not saying that, this video is not intended to say things like you're not worthy of love
Oh.
or you're not worthy of finding someone. You'll definitely find someone, but you need to be realistic in whom you're seeking out.
Yeah.
That is
And
the
you may be
message.
passing up on nice guys just for superficial things that
Exactly.
he's too fat or he's too bald or he's too short or not enough money. Pick from this applies to both men and women. In this excessively materialistic world, pick for moral character. That's the
True.
best hope and prayer you have for long-term satisfaction and happiness.
Exactly. I think by that we'll end this video and please don't cancel us, guys. We really love all of you. We really
Respect all of
appreciate, yeah, the love that you have given to the channel. We also saw that you guys really liked our emotional intelligence videos. So thank you so much for that. Also, we post every mostly Wednesdays and Saturdays, although the schedule may change a bit. So press the bell icon so you don't miss out. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you
Bye
and
bye.
bye.